I'm honored to have to be able to announce and to introduce our two speakers tonight, Larry Kahn and Susan Davis. We're returning them back from that hot country called Texas. These two people used to be up in this area. I believe Renee sort of started Susan off on her educational technology ways, and I know Marty got Larry out of the corporate world and into the education world some time ago. So it's nice to have our friends back to speak to us tonight about personal learning networks. And Larry is now at Kincaid School in Houston. Susan is outside of Houston, and I'm going to look at my notes. Highlands, Texas, in oh boy, Chinquapin. I'm sorry, Chinquapin Preparatory School, and as the dean, academic dean. I've seen some of the things that they presented both at NAIS and was it last year or a year ago? At 2 years. Over at Garrison Forest. It is exciting work that they are doing, and I'm not going to go into many more things than that and let you get started.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oops, sorry.
Okay, I said earlier that it feels a little bit like I have a couple of 6 guns here, because I have one.
You're
on
not
each
in
side.
Texas anymore. Be careful.
Okay, can everyone hear us? Is that good? Yes? All right. Well, first of all, I did tell Larry earlier, in case I forget to mention this, for those of you who don't know us, we're going to act a lot like we're married, and that's because we are. So, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for inviting us back. It is really such a huge honor for us to be here among friends and among new friends that we're going to meet here today. One of the things that you'll hear us say again and again is that in a lot of ways this retreat was our first learning network. I've actually been to this retreat twice as a participant. Larry, many times.
I've been here many times, yeah.
But a lot of you are people that we learn from on a daily basis. We visited your schools, we worked with you, and you moved on to other schools. So, and if we don't know you, we may know someone at your school. So we feel very connected to the people who are here today and very honored by being asked. And we thank the committee for inviting us, and Pamela Nolan for all of her help and our many questions trying to get ready for this retreat. Do you want to add anything?
The only thing I need to add is we're going to be talking about the whole concept of personal learning network, and I just want to echo what Susan said, that you were our first network, and I look at some people and some faces I haven't seen for many years, and it's great to see again. Some faces I'd seen many years ago and I continue to see online, and we get together once a year or twice or 3 times a year, but our conversations and our learning together is continuing. And there are some people here who I've only seen in an online context, and some only recently. But I'm really looking forward to putting a face with the tweets and a face with the learning network that we've established together. So.
One of the things that we were talking about today was that it was really our moving to Texas that necessitated needing a network. And that happened to coincide with a lot of changes that happened in the world, in the internet world and the school world, and so those things have kind of dovetailed. But when we left Texas, we felt like we left most of our best teachers behind. And so it's great that we didn't have to. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start out by saying all of the resources, or at least all of them that we tried to remember, are on this wiki, Learn, Share, Grow, and yes, I did shamelessly steal from Eat, Pray, Love for the title, and you'll see that all of our presentations are there. Just look for the Ames Technology Retreat, and then there's a resources page that includes almost everything that we're going to mention.
I stood in the back, and if you're near the back, feel free to go to that site. you know, to try to read the fine print, because, you know, if you're near the front, you can see it fine. If you're further back, feel free to go there.
Okay. Oh, too fast. Go back. Okay, who's my teacher? PLNs and the future of learning. I think we were pretty ambitious when we came up with this title, but I think it also fairly represents how we feel and how excited we are to be learning as teachers with other teachers who are learning today. We will introduce ourselves a little bit to you again so you can have a sense of the schools where we work now, but Larry's going to talk about what you see.
Yep. So David did a great job of introducing me, you know, the person. And what I want to say is that what you have a picture of here, this is actually all these nodes, all this network. And I'll get into this a little bit tonight, a lot more tomorrow at the workshop for those who come to that. But at some point in my career, I decided to extend my learning network. And that's the key, learning, not social. Not recreational, but my learning network to Facebook. And this is a picture of my Facebook network. And if you look at it, the most crowded area is the personal learning network. You have former employer, of course they're here and sitting in the room, current employer, spouse's employer, family, neighbors, friends, high school friends, so on and so forth. But the digital footprint that I have out there to learn by, so people can network with me and the way I put myself out, to be able to network from and learn from others, goes down this whole list of Twitter, Digo, Skype, Facebook, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. So those are ways for those represent the node, the Larry Kahn node in the vast network out there of how I connect to people.
So the picture you see here of me, the visual you see of me is my name, and actually I have to put in Susan Lucille Davis for most of the things that I do online, since there are about a zillion Susan Davises. But this is what I come up with at the Persona Project at MIT, and I highly encourage all of you to try plugging your name in and seeing what comes up for that. So all of these bars represent some part of what the internet thinks represents me. I will confess that I had to do this several times before the aggression category would drop out. I don't know what that was about.
We can talk later.
Yeah, no, okay. What is a personal learning network? I think you really described it earlier, Jenny. It's really a gathering of people who come together to learn from each other. And one of the important things that I think that we're going to try and talk about today, and this is just recent that I've thought about this definition, but if you think about your own definition of learning, just in the last week, I've heard a definition that really describes learning as learning that engenders more learning. That's real learning, not learning that stops. And so when I think about gatherings like this, that's the purpose of it. That's why we do this. It's because we need to get juiced up again. We need to go and learn from people who are going to challenge our ideas. We need to go learn from people who know more than we do. You see a picture here of NAIS, so certainly a personal learning network, and all of our first personal learning networks are physical spaces where we come together and share. So this is ours. Our face-to-face network is the first piece of our personal learning network. But as you heard earlier, there are other pieces to that network. So we are inviting you to go to today's meet, and this is the URL that you can use. And you don't have to join if you've never used today's meet before. You can add to the commentary in today's meet about what you hear tonight and for the rest of the retreat. So this is yet another place where you can go and add your thoughts. And it would be nice, I guess, if we had them all in one place, and we experimented with a few ways to do that. But at the moment, we have several different venues, and maybe it is fitting that we have several venues so that you can choose the one that suits you, because that's another theme that you're going to hear tonight. And then finally, the Twitter feed, if you're tweeting, is hashtag AimsTech11.
And here's the challenge. If enough people tweet, I've set up a daily, and if anyone has experienced a daily before, it's a digest. Basically, it records every tweet that has this particular tag on it, and then it'll come out every day. And if you follow that tag, you will see the Ames Tech 11 Daily is out, and you'll see your tweets and other people's tweets and so on and so forth. So I think we have a large critical mass here. So if you guys will do that, that'll be great.
And we're also, for the wrap-up session, we're also going to be mining all of these sources for information and evidence of connections being made at this particular gathering, this retreat away from our jobs so that we can do our jobs. We want to look for the kinds of interesting ways that people are connecting and then wrap that up, be part of our presentation on the last day. And this is the final one. This is the one that Jenny mentioned earlier. This is, if you have not joined it, on isenet.ning.com, join the Ames Technology Retreat 2011 group. And that's where every single session that is being offered at the retreat has been set up so that you can go in and have a discussion forum. So again, if that's the format that you're most comfortable with, then do that there. This is what the today's meet looks like.
This was what it was like when I was setting it up. When you actually go to join the conversation, when you type in, again, no www, when you type in todaysmeet.com/AmesTech11, it'll just say, what is your name? And you start tweeting. It doesn't even check to see if you put in your real name, though if you want, we can have a discussion about the dangers of anonymity. It's great to build your network with your real name, and then just start the conversation. And for all I know, it could be happening now, and I hope it is.
Okay, this is yours.
Okay. So the theme was who's my teacher? So we were thinking, and I love the fact that, you know, I haven't been here in a couple of years, and when I came here last time there were chairs in rows, and I love that there are circular areas for these discussions, that we're at round tables to have these discussions. But I've been reflecting about, you know, who do you go to solve a problem? And I'll give an example of this and how I leveraged the power of my personal learning network. And this could have happened, you know, you could have solved a problem face to face. But in this case, I didn't. The problem was we were going to use this program WallWisher, and I know a few of you did, but I know that when I was trying to go to WallWisher a few times, it would hang. And then eventually I'd see something about some glitch in some matrix somewhere. And so I just posed out to my network, hey, having issues, anything like it that you like. And I used several hashtags, my PLP network, my EdChat, my ISD, my ISDD chat. I'm trying to leverage those hashtags to get to the largest possible audience. And almost immediately I heard back from someone, hey, check out corkboard.com/corkboard. And that was from L. Carroll 94, a very active tweeter. You'll see her in a lot of the spaces that we're going to be talking about in our presentation. So, but the point of this is, I'd like for you guys to, in your tables now for a few minutes, just share with each other a problem you've had in the last week and who your teacher was to help you solve that.
So
Please.
who did you go to solve a problem?
Yep.
Or learn something?
Or learn something.
In any way.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to stop you.
Good discussions here.
I hate to do this because there's a lot of learning going on. But I just want to go over some of the things that we brainstormed, that places where we thought you might have gone, and you tell me if I've left anything out. Next door. Down the hall. Anybody go to the boss? Yeah. Informal meetings in faculty rooms. Formal meetings, like faculty meetings, committee meetings. Email? Yep. Phone? No phone? Yeah. Did you call your children?
I heard someone saying vendors. how did people get in touch with their vendors? Was it by the phone or email and phone?
Phone? Okay, books? Journals? Internet, Google, search, blogs, wikis, the news. I know my family's in Alabama, so I was listening to the news a lot. Facebook, Twitter, Nings, YouTube. Did we leave anything out?
The help menu. Yep.
I forget about that one.
It is getting better.
That's good.
Someone said listservs.
Listservs.
Listservs. You know, that which is a digest of email or a community of email people.
Okay. It's a lot of sources that we go and learn from on a daily basis. I want you to think about what happened next, depending on who you went to. A, you got your answer, you solved your problem and filed it away. Learning stopped. B, you shared your problem or solution face-to-face with a colleague. Learning continued briefly, and then it probably stopped. C, you shared your problem, you shared your problem solution via an email. Learning continued briefly, was buried, especially if it's like my email, then stopped, but could be resurrected. D, you shared your problem and your solution via a blog or a microblog, wiki, or other community space. Learning was archived to be continued indefinitely. And E, your PLN commented on your blog, retweeted your post, started a conversation on a social network. Learning continued, learning continued, learning continued. I just finished reading about a month ago Clay Shirky's book, Cognitive Surplus, and I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. It speaks to those of us, especially who grew up in the television era. But I think it bears reading. This particular quote bears reading because one of the things we were asked to talk about today was to try and convey to you the value that can be gained from developing and growing a personal learning network. And that value, which Shirky explains so well, is personal connections that you make, communal, and it's one of the reasons why some people say professional learning network, some people say personal learning network. For me, it's all mixed up together. So, you know, you can make connections that contribute to your community, you can make connections that help the public, you can make connections that actually have huge civic impact. And the quote is, "More value can be gotten out of voluntary participation than anyone previously imagined, thanks to the improvements in our ability to connect with one another and improvements in our imagination of what is possible from such participation." For me, this describes personal learning networks.
So again, I'm partway through Cognitive Surplus. It's great. If you haven't read any Clay Shirky, check out his first book, Here Comes Everybody, especially if you're in the early part of starting your personal learning network journey. And if you're curious and want to try him before you read his book, check out any of his TED Talks or his TEDx Talks. They're fabulous, and you can simply Google them and get to them that way. But what I was struck by, just looking at the cover of the book, is a subtext, creativity and generosity in a connected age. And that term, connected age, resonated with me because I hadn't really seen that term before. So I went ahead and did a quick Google in quotes so that I got both of the words together. And there were over 250,000 hits of this term, connected age, that was used so eloquently in the quote that Susan just shared with you. And you see things like from the information age to the connected age. Are you a bursty web worker? 6 degrees, the science of a connected age. So the people are saying that there's a shift that has happened. And we've gone from that industrial age to the knowledge worker age, and now they're talking about this connected age. And what do these shifts mean? What do these shifts mean to us? What do they mean for learning? As we think back, and we stand on the shoulders of giants, and we think back and we look at the learning theories, the predominant learning theories, the theories that govern what we do every day in our schools with our kids. You can go back to the visionary Vygotsky, towards the turn of the century, who was thinking students are creating learning, and that was taken on later by Piaget, and then his Seymour Papert, the disciple, working with him, and students constructing knowledge. But in between, we had that behaviorism where the learner was passive, where the learner was receiving that data, where you're sitting there watching television, and the content from the television is coming to you, and maybe you'll remember it. We can probably all remember things, but what can we do higher on Bloom's taxonomy with that information? What can we make with that? So we go from that constructivist theory, and then now they're talking about a social constructivist theory. And now beyond the social, that you make something and then you share it, and you share it in ways that were previously unimaginable. But then the new thinkers of the isms, Stephen Downes and George Siemens, they've come up with connectivism, where the learner acts to connect. You're connecting to knowledge, and how are you connecting to that knowledge, and how are you making meaning from those connections? So that's what the learning theories today mean. And learning theories really reflect the time in which they were created. While we were preparing for this presentation, I heard from my cousin that she had this new job with the Stone Age Institute, and I looked it up, and they're just studying the differences that technology, the impacts that technology have had over time, and how those changes have impacted us. So what are the shifts? What are the shifts in the connected age? When I was growing up, there were the big three. I almost put a picture of Walter Cronkite out here, because that's how we got our information. That's how we got our news. That was unquestionable. It was from an authority, and that knowledge was scarce. And that's how we got our news. But today, in a connected age, I can go to search.twitter.com. I know probably beyond the first row you can't see this, but the hashtag's #Egypt. I'm saying give me everything in Arabic. And then I say translate to English. And I got the English right there. So on the ground, as events are happening, we have access to source data. That there's this AP, this UPI in multiple languages, and the data that's coming out is that this is just as reliable as what we're getting from the talking heads on television, if not more reliable, certainly more unfiltered. Entertainment. Okay, first there were the big three, then there was cable television, but again, it was the content creation, the ability to create, the ability to construct knowledge was in the hands of a few. And now there's data to support it that there's far more content being created by people and shared. Anyone here familiar with Eric Whitaker's virtual? It's just breathtaking.
The link's on the wiki.
The link's on the wiki.
Look for this one.
If you don't get anything else out of what we're saying, it's fabulous. And what's happening there is that he composed a work, and if we played the video, what you'd see people in their rooms around the world singing and performing this work, and it's gorgeous, and it became a CD, it's an MP3 you can download. That would only be possible in a connected age, okay, where the distribution and everyone's creating something, and in fact they're creating something beautiful and meaningful in a collaborative way. Never possible before. So if we think about education, we look at education in the industrial age, in the pre-knowledge age, and we look at the architecture and what the walls are saying about that in today's age. This visual is a little stunning, and it's stunning because there's no children in there, and the sense is maybe they'll really be in there, maybe they'll physically be in that space, but are they engaged there? Are they really there? Are they in that space? If we're structuring our learning, again, to mostly memorize and regurgitate data and to be in rows and not to be creating and sharing and connecting to knowledge. So connected learning is different for us. It's different for the students. I'm going to show you a short video right now. This is by Mizuko Uto from the University of California in Irvine. She's going to be talking, it's short, she's going to be talking about the differences and how the children are different today. She's not going to refer to teachers per se, she's going to be referring to parents. But as you watch this, I want you to think about the teacher's role in all of this.
When adults look at teens today, they think that what they're doing is very different and that they seem to be wasting a lot of time online, hanging out with their friends or playing video games. And these are activities that can seem quite foreign. But when you look closely at what kids are doing, what they are doing is not so different from what their parents did. They're hanging out with their friends, they're finding romantic partners, they're trying to develop their status and identity, and they're trying to pursue interests. I think the potential is really there for us to be raising a new generation of young people who have grown up with technologies that allow them to pursue self-directed learning on their own terms and on their own time schedules. This is very different from how kids learn in school, where they're handed a set body of knowledge that they're asked to master, and the expertise really resides in the teacher. When kids go online in these more informal contexts where they're pursuing their interests, they can really go look around and connect with knowledge, people, online communities that really enable them to tailor and customize what they want to learn when they want to learn it. And that is tremendously empowering for kids and motivating for them to learn. I think a lot of people, when they see kids online or playing video games, they worry that they're becoming socially isolated. And I think that's a concern that has accompanied a lot of media technologies. What's interesting right now, though, with the internet and with gaming is that most of these activities are being conducted in a social context, even though the kids may not be physically together. Parents have always had a role in encouraging kids' interests, whether that's providing science kits or providing music lessons for kids. A lot of what parents can do in supporting interests on the internet is similar to that. It's recognizing kids' motivations around things that they're passionate about and helping them cultivate these interests and find and connect with knowledge and other people with expertise online. What's important about this study is that it's really grounded in what young people are doing in their everyday lives and how new media is part of negotiations over friendship, over family, over pursuing their interest.
You know, one thing when we were looking at the survey that we took, you know, we heard from some people, I'm trying to do this stuff, but I'm having trouble with my colleagues, and so on and so forth. And we're going to dig deeper into that in the workshop tomorrow. But last summer, Susan and I had the opportunity to see Michael Wesch speak. And one thing I'll point out is that I learned from David that the heads, at the Ames Heads Conference this summer, they're going to have the opportunity to work with Michael Wesch. If you have not seen him, that's another takeaway. Your other homework is to go home and watch some of his presentations. They'll blow your mind away. He teaches anthropology at Kansas State University and was selected at a national level as Professor of the Year. But the punchline of the talk that I saw him give to me was when he said, never in recorded history, after there's been a shift, has a civilization gone backwards. There's been a change, and there have been things gained, and there have been things lost, but it's never gone back. So, you know, that the horse has left the barn, whatever phrase you want to say, this shift has happened. So, in the same spirit of what's holding people back, you know, we're trying to mine that, we're trying to figure that out. Some of us attended NAIS, it was here in Washington. You know, there were, what was it, 5,000 people. Out of that 5,000 people, there were 200 people tweeting, back channeling, you know, less than 5% Okay, this is, you know, the education conference. This effort is promoted by NEIS. They want us to be doing these things. So what is holding us back? And this talk is called Who's My Teacher? So I'm going to share with you some words of wisdom from one of my teachers. He's been a teacher of mine for almost my entire life. And in the short clip I'm going to show you from this teacher, he's thinking about sharing socially. He's thinking about reaching out and trying to friend someone, but something's stopping him from making that step. And I want you to watch that and just think about it and reflect upon it and what it means for us today.
I've taken the liberty of asking the ambassador to come over here because we both felt that a friendly conference would settle everything peacefully. He'll be here any moment.
Mrs. Teasdale, you did a noble deed. I'd be unworthy of the high trust that's been placed in me if I didn't do everything within my power to keep our beloved Fredonia at peace with the world. I'd be only too happy to meet Ambassador Trentino and offer him on behalf of my country the right hand of good fellowship. And I feel sure that he will accept this gesture in the spirit in which it is offered. But suppose he doesn't? A fine thing that'll be. I hold out my hand and he refuses to accept it. That'll add a lot to my prestige, won't it? Me, the head of a country, snubbed by a foreign ambassador. Who does he think he is, that he can come here and make a sap out of me in front of all my people? Think of it. I hold out my hand, and that hyena refuses to accept it. Why, the cheap, ball-flushing swine, he'll never get away with it, I tell you. He'll never get away with it. Please. So, you refuse to shake hands with me, eh?
Oh! Mrs. Teasdale, this is the last straw. There's no turning back now. This means war.
And it's war!
Okay, so some of you recognize a great scene from Duck Soup by the Marx Brothers. And indeed, the Marx Brothers are one of Larry's first teachers.
It explains a lot. What can I tell you?
But if you think about this scene, what is it really telling us about why we are afraid to connect with people? We're afraid because, A, we may be rejected. We're afraid because we think that we may be humiliated publicly. We're afraid because we're not sure what will happen. We're not sure of the outcome. What do you think are some of the ways that we're afraid to connect and build our networks with other people outside of our circles? Yes? We lose control. Yes? Oh, yes, it's an investment of time. Anytime you have a relationship with somebody, it's an investment of time. Yes? We become a responsible party? Yeah, we're now responsible. Oh, yeah, we're very responsible for whatever happens in that interaction. Yes? Yes?
And I feel like you're not able to contribute enough to the relationship. Maybe you don't know as much about certain things.
Okay, feelings of inferiority that, oh, how can I interact with these people? They know way more than I do. Yes? Yes?
Different way of doing it than you had previously?
Okay, sort of cultural norms. They understand this culture and I don't understand that culture. But, you know, I think this is really good. That's much better than what we came up with.
Yes, it is. Thank you, network.
Yeah, no, that was great. And I think if we begin to think about what is holding us back, we can begin to think about the next step, which is what are our opportunities when we connect? Because if we stay back from making those connections out of fear for whatever kind of, we all have fear of various kinds. If we hold back from that, we're missing out on a whole range of opportunities. And this is this slide is of Ushahidi. Have most of you heard of Ushahidi? Do you know? No idea. Okay, good. Good, I'm glad it's new to you. Ushahidi is a platform, it's open source. So anybody can download it and work with it. It allows you to map events of various kinds. And it was created, Ushahidi means testimony in Swahili. So it was originally created so that people could map where human rights abuses were occurring in Africa. And then it was picked up and it was used by emergency workers or after the Haiti earthquake, so that when people were witnesses to there's a person in this rubble and more than one person reported on the map in Ushahidi that there were people here that needed to be helped, then rescue workers could get there. And what I've included here, Mapping the Future of Cities and Education, is a citywide youth project in New York where children were asked to map their vision of what education would look like in the future. So it's incredibly powerful when you bring people together and they bear witness to what they see and they share what they know.
And again, the huge shift here is this was not created by some big corporate or government entity. This was not a taxonomy. This was a folksonomy. This was just created by some people just trying to solve that one problem, giving it away, giving the software away through open source, and then it picking up all these other unintended, originally, uses.
Okay, so what are our opportunities when we connect? I mean, I'm a teacher, so obviously I think about learning first and foremost. But I think I think I'm a pretty good teacher. I teach English. But what kind of a teacher can I become if I can connect with the best teachers out there? The best. What happens when we share and add value in our own professional communities, and that professional community is larger? What happens when we model connecting, that kind of connected learning for students, when they see us doing it, for our colleagues and our administrators? What happens when they see what comes of those connections? I think we create positive change in the world. Okay, so now this part of the show is a little personal, little personal side. Larry and I were going to talk about how we grew our own personal learning communities.
Okay, so how many people here have read The Tipping Point? Any Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell? Oh, yeah, a lot of fans here. It would be no shock to Susan or the people in the room who know me that I admit it, I'm a connector. Okay, I love to connect with people. I love to help other people connect. It was just a natural inclination. That said, I was an IT director, and I came to schools from the corporate world. And I learned about a lot of these technologies as discipline issues years ago. These kids are on here doing this terrible stuff, make it stop, block it. Yesterday, okay? So no real time to investigate it, no time to think about it. Of course, no one knew how this stuff would evolve and change over time. So a few years ago, I just decided, where's the beef? Let me go into some of these spaces. Let me go into Facebook. Let me go into Second Life. Let me start to tweet. That was my discomfort. So part of what we want to tell you guys and share with you guys is that, while you're leveraging your comfort, whatever it is you're comfortable with, lean into your discomfort to grow and learn. And in my case, I decided to make Facebook, and those of you who were here earlier saw that I had that slide, that showed my personal learning network, and that was the largest. That I decided, yeah, I'm in touch with my old high school friends. Yes, I'm in touch with family. Yes, I'm using this as a social space, but you have that group capability. So yes, I read this article in the New York Times, and I'm going to ask a question that I had about it, but instead of sending a letter to the editor, I'm going to connect with the person right there. Oh, and by the way, will you be my friend? I'm interested in the same things you are. Susan called me a shameless...
Facebook social climber.
Right. But the point is that this is a flattener. The world is flat. That anyone can make these connections right now. So I've leveraged a lot of these spaces to enhance my learning. I learn and I share with others, and they learn from me, and that's the beauty of these connections. So that's the quick and dirty version of my story.
And I started as a writer I always wanted to be a writer. I have an MFA in creative writing. I have a whole drawer of stories and a novella and all kinds of things, essays. I have a few things published. There probably is no trace of them on the internet. But it was easy for me to think about blogging because it was a natural space for me to go to. But it wasn't easy for me to think about connecting. So that side of, you know, I could share my blog out there to the void, and maybe somebody will read it who isn't my mother, but maybe not. I really learned that I had to lean into the discomfort of connecting. I had to actually promote my blog. I had to get other people to read it. I had to share it with people and in some uncomfortable ways feel like I was pushing myself on people. So I had to learn how to do that in ways that are perfectly acceptable in the world on the web, but they were not comfortable for me. So we both started in different places, and that's a couple of things that we wanted to share with you. The important thing here is that we chose the place that was comfortable for us to start building our network. There isn't one way to go about this. You have to think about where is the place that's a natural fit for you, and then build from that, and it will start connecting to some of the other ways to connect. But it's very individualized. If you're thinking about building your personal learning network, and this is the shift in education, this is what's happening. This is where kids are when they're not in school. It is that you are individualizing, streamlining, you are crafting your own learning sphere. You're building it. And in some ways, I think the kids are much more comfortable with that than we are. So the next step in the program was we thought we would share from you, for those of you who are getting started, some places that you can start, some places that you can go, or some, one of the things in the survey that we sent out before this presentation, a lot of people said, well, I'm kind of doing it, but I have a hard time convincing people that I work with, or I'm not quite sure how to make the case for this when I go back to my school. So we wanted to share with you some resources that you can share with others, or places where you can start. And one of them, Renee in my network, Renee Hawkins, shared with me about 6 months ago, maybe less, Connected Principles. I'm an administrator as well as an English teacher, and so in Connected Principles, you have several principals who come together and talk about all of these issues from an administrative perspective. And so this is a perfect place to get an administrator that you work with involved. They're going to go, hear from many different points of view about what's going on in education today, but it's from that big picture perspective. And so get them reading Connected Principles. And they're also on Twitter, by the way. Another place that you might try out is Voices from the Learning Revolution. This is a new blogging series that has come out from Powerful Learning Practice, which we're going to talk about in a minute as a professional development piece. But Renee Hawkins is one of the bloggers for Voices from the Revolution. So applause for Renee. But anyway, this is teachers in the trenches, essentially, people who are in the classroom, but from all over, all kinds of schools. You have public schools, you have private schools, you have people of different, in Canada, you have here, you have all kinds of different perspectives. So it's really an interesting collection of blogs. Individual blog, my prize for best individual blogger is Dan Meyer, who is a math teacher. I'm an English teacher. You wouldn't think I would read a math teacher's blog, but if I read his blog, he challenges my thinking about education every time I read it, every single time. And he will not stop unless kids are learning in the classroom. He really just has a very low tolerance for anything that obstructs learning. The other one is Teach Paperless, which is homegrown. It's here, Shelley Blake Plock is here in Baltimore. So that's another place where you have a blogger who just started. You know, he started from a very practical sense of, you know, why are we doing things the way that we continue to do them? Asking that basic question, and he's received all kinds of awards for his blogs.
So what we do in these spaces, you know, when you're reading a blog, you know, think back to the slide Susan showed earlier where the learning continues, learning continues, learning continues. As you read the blog, if you disagree, you know, you respectfully comment back and push back respectfully. If you agree, you agree. If you have some supporting information or something, you know, when you're writing the blogger themselves, the person writing the blog will learn from the comments. And just like the commenter learns from the blog. So again, think of that connection to the learning. So the blog is not a real time. You're not going to have, you know, a lot of synchronous blogging going on. It's an asynchronous activity. It's a time, it's not limited to 140 characters like things we're going to talk about shortly. It's time for a thought out, reflective piece. If you're looking for something to do with students, it's a thought out, written, reflective piece where these students happen. You can comment, you can illustrate with examples, you can tell stories, you can repost. You know, there was one story where I wrote a blog post on my New Things, New Ways blog. I went to sleep, I got up the next morning, and someone had written a response post in London while I was sleeping. You know, so those types of things happen, and those types of conversations happen, and that type of learning happens. So it's a great place to tell your stories, to throw questions back and forth, and just learn from each other in a reflective type of way.
Okay, Twitter. And I understand pretty clearly the pushback about Twitter. Most people who resist Twitter do so because they see it as frivolous and it's all that silly stuff about Lady Gaga or whatever, Justin Bieber's hair or whatever. Again, this is that streamlining idea. If you create, you know, the voices that you're going to listen to, if you choose the threads that you're going to listen to very carefully for your Twitter feeds, you're going to get a very different kind of experience. So some of the tweeters that we follow, the top one is Dolores Jinde. She is a physics teacher at Parish Episcopal School, which is outside of Dallas. And she's the kind of person I'm so glad to have in my network. If I have a question about anything that has to do with pedagogy, anything that has to do with I need a resource for X, I can put something out, and when I hear from Dolores, it'll be a list this long. And it'll all be great. I mean, she's just a walking encyclopedia of information. So she's great. The second person here is Wendy Drexler, and she is at Brown University, and she is tweeting a lot about how the studies that are going on in colleges and universities about these issues, about the social networking and the changes that are happening in education.
So if people are say that's well and fine, but what's the pedagogy? What's the research? What's the data? That's where Wendy Drexler is someone you want to reach out to and take a look at her work.
The next person we mentioned is Cheryl Nussbaum Beach, who is a prominent thinker in education and one of the co-founders of the Powerful Learning Practice. And she just is always asking the hard questions. I love that she tweets out the hard questions, is really pushing people to think about what's going on. Edna Saxon is somebody I just discovered because I was tweeting at a conference. She happened to be at the conference, and we picked up a conversation with one another. I like that she's kind of an ordinary teacher like me, who is sharing out her information and her thoughts about her classes with a wider audience. And she happens to be in Melbourne, Australia. What we do.
So the Twittersphere, it's going on all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 140 character streams ad nauseum. How do you make sense of this? How do you learn from this? How do How do you grow from this? How do you share with this? How do you begin to make sense of it? You know, filtering is what's really key with that. Filtering in terms of who you follow, okay? Filtering in terms of that term I used earlier, the hashtag. You know, think of it as a means by which to index, a means by which to filter. You're not going to find something too superfluous with the ISED tag on it. You're not going to find it with many of the tags that we're talking about this evening. So when you're looking for something in a given subject, you search that way. And then when you see quality, a stream of quality information coming from one source that happens to be using that hashtag, you can go to their page, take a look at what they're tweeting, and then start following them. Okay? And now that has become another node in your network. The back channel conversation. I see some of the people in this room that when we're at other conferences, we're sitting around and our fingers are going crazy and we're taking collaborative notes, far better than we could take on our own, because all the different perspectives that we're looking at are coming through. So, you know, there might be some people in this room, you know, some might be using today's meet, some might be using the Independent School Educators Network, and some might be using the Twitter hashtag with the Ames Tech 11. And then, you know, if you have not gone to Twitter, you don't need to sign up an account. You can simply go to Twitter and put in that # Ames Tech 11 and press enter and see what tweets are coming out. And that's a way to get started with that.
Okay, we were going to also hear from you at this point. And we're going to do this very old-fashioned way.
It'll get new-fashioned in a minute, so
who are
bear
some
with
of the
us.
people that we would like you to tell us? Who are some of the people, the blogs that you think are where the worthy conversations are? And also, those of you who tweet, who are some of the people that you follow and learn from on Twitter? And what we're going to do is make a list here, and then Larry's going to take a picture of it and post it on the today's meet and all the sources that you're looking at. So. Starting with blogs, what are some blogs that you would recommend out to people who are just starting to enter the conversation? Where would you go to see the good stuff? Yes.
David Warlick, who's one of our speakers.
Is that 2 cents worth?
2 cents worth, yep.
Other blogs, yes, back. Yes, yes.
Free Tech for Teachers.
I love that one. I love anything with the name with the word free in it, but yeah.
Yeah, Pat.
Joyce Valenza, Never Ending Search.
Oh, she's fabulous.
Yes.
21K12, Jonathan Martin.
Mm-hmm.
21K12. Okay, so what about some people that you follow on Twitter that you think are particularly useful to stir up the conversation? Yes.
Web 20 Classroom.
Will Richardson. It's Will Rich 45.
We didn't put Will up because we figured everybody knew about him.
On the blog side, anyway.
Well,
Raven Tech. Jason Ranston. He's great. He has a lot going on.
Plug us in.
Plug us in.
Yeah, all one word, plug us in. Federer, I think is his name. 6th, 7th grade social studies teacher.
Others? Yes?
Joyce Valenza again.
Is she Joyce Valenza, all one word?
I started following Allison Druin, who is our speaker tomorrow. I also follow you guys. And those are all good resources.
Thank you. Okay. Is she just Allison Drew in one word?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
I'm following her.
So
too.
we'll take a picture of this, and then now you all have a starting place. If you don't do these things now, you have a place to go to start dipping into and figuring out what works for you. Because again, it's that very individualized program.
And if you are doing it, here's a list for you to go back to your colleagues who aren't here for this wonderful conference and share it with them to help them get started.
Okay, so one of the things about Twitter that is a little tricky for people to understand, and if you have, I remember when Larry started tweeting way before I did, and this whole hashtag thing, I mean, it was just a little hard to put my head around. But basically, hashtags are like tags to be able to search a particular topic or narrow your tweet down to a particular topic so people can find it. And there are a few that have emerged as the places, the ones that are having the conversations that we want to hear are using over and over again. So it's kind of emerged as a folksotomy. And so that would be the asynchronous learning that happens. So, you know, I might tweet something and put it out to hashtag EdChat as an asynchronous learning piece. But hashtag EdChat is also a place where people come together and have a conversation on a particular night of the week.
Tuesday nights at 8 Eastern Time.
So all of these educators from around the world know that there is this, it's like this great, you know, I was going to say bar, but maybe I should say cafe, where people come together and they know there's going to be great conversation there. And so you could choose any number of those, and there's a resource from Cybraryman on our wiki that lists all the different chats that are happening synchronously throughout the week. So sometimes I'll even just go onto Twitter and go to a chat that is for something that I don't even teach. You know, like there's an art teacher chat, or there's a special ed teacher chat. I'm the dean of faculty, so I'm supposed to know about everything. So I go in and I sit in on all these different chats, and the conversations are wonderful. And you have some people in your organization that are very active, especially in ISED chat and some of these chats, and they are fabulous contributors to what's going on. So Larry mentioned earlier about the hashtags and how they work. You want to go ahead and talk about what we do?
So ISED chat is just like the Ed chat that Susan talked about, only it's vertically dealing with independent schools. So the people who follow the ISED listserv will have a sense of the types of people and the types of conversations. So it's asynchronous. Right now you could go to the Twitter tool of your choice, do a search on ISED chat, and you'd find some information. However, if on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, you went to ISED chat, probably earlier in the day or maybe earlier in the week, you'd find out what the topic would be. So it would be a vertical, real-time topic, a discussion, an online workshop with people thinking about the subject that's being discussed, that's happening in real time. If you're available, you go to it. If not, you go to it later and read about it. Other ones we follow, NEIS is one that, you know, for the National Association of Independent Schools, ISTE for the International Society of Technology and Education. There's also one starting up. There's an independent school group in that, which has its own hashtag as well. So, but what we're doing in those spaces is we're searching for information, utilizing the hashtag. You can always do a Google search to find out what the hashtag is for something you're looking for. If it's a specific, or you can just take a guess, you know, # history and go out there, # American history, go out there and see what's out there.
I'll just throw in there
sure.
that I was involved during the State of the Union this year. On Twitter, there was a hashtag for the State of the Union, and so there was this back channel happening all across the country for the State of the Union. It was fun. Imagine if kids got involved in that.
Mm-hmm. So that's really it, reading the archives of the conversation, you know, just hanging out to see what's going on. You don't have to be there all the time. You know, some people get overwhelmed by the concept of it. but think of it as kind of a ticker tape that's going across, and you're just clicking on the ones that are of interest to you, and you're only going there when you're interested, and you're only taking part in the conversations that you wish to take part on. And when you think of it in that context, it becomes a lot less overwhelming.
Okay, and then the final place is what I'm calling communities of practice. We all know them as NINGs, and there are several NINGs that are very valuable places to go. The first one that I have up here is the English Companion NING, which has won awards for, even if you're not an English teacher, it's a place where people of all stripes in education go. If you want to go and learn about kids and reading, go to the English Companion NING and join, the middle school readers group. It's really a great, rich conversation. The other one we mentioned earlier was the Independent School Educators Network, where the discussion forums are for this group. We also have Classroom 2.0, very, very popular, dealing with all Web 2.0 tools, issues, learning, everything happening in the 21st century.
Another wonderful facet of the Classroom 2.0 was started by Steve Hargadon, is that he will oftentimes have speakers, and you can go into an online session using a tool called Illuminate, where you can go into that space. There'll be someone presenting, there'll be slides being shown, there'll be a back channel happening that's built into the actual presentation itself, and it's a wonderful, another way for us to learn. There are so many people are attending that it's kind of hard to build people to connect within your network unless you already know them, but it's a great way to learn.
And then there's the ISTE community, and then Powerful Learning Practice is a professional development program that if you're interested in growing personal learning networks, that's really what they do over the course of a year. And talk to Renee Hawkins. They're talking about putting together a cohort for Powerful Learning Practice for the next year, if you're interested in that kind of professional development.
And I just want to add that within the ISTE community, because again, the ISTE community is huge, but SIG stands for Special Interest Group, and there's a SIG-IS, which stands for Independent School, and it's much smaller. So when you go to the ISTE NING, go to the groups page, do a search on SIG-IS, and that's how you'll get into the independent school community for the International Society for Technology and Education.
But these NINGs are also another really good place. This is just another option of an entry point for you to go to. It's where you can pull together Twitter feeds and blogs and conversations, forums, all kinds of things, and make connections with people. But it's just a different format. You should find what works for you. So finally, I'm just going to remind everyone, we are going to wrap it up with one last slide after this one, but this is the wiki that has all of the information about the resources that we've been giving to you. But we also wanted to come back to the idea of the theme of this session, this retreat, which is sharpening your tools. And our point is, we are the tools. It is our, it behooves us, and it is really our responsibility to sharpen ourselves and go out and sharpen our communities and go and contribute content that matters and give value to the communities in order to grow the kinds of learners that we want to be, we want our faculty to be, and we want our students to be.
So lastly, before we leave, and thank you all, you've been great, but we want to show you the voices of the students, because we've been talking to you guys, we've been talking about growing your personal learning networks, the importance of making those connections, but really the reason to make those connections, the reasons to grow, is to inspire the learners that we all work with, for them to be lifelong learners as well.
And if you've seen this, we apologize, but
really needs an upgrade.
The future is coming.
The future is late for school.
I see the future. It makes me think.
I see the future.
It isn't sitting in rows.
And it doesn't have claws.
I see the future, and it lets me create.
It lets me create.
It lets me create.
And it makes me want to share.
I see the future, and it won't wait.
Will we be ready?
The future is trying to get in.
You've blocked it.
You've blocked it.
You've blocked it.
The future is trying to get in.
The future wants to play with us.
Why don't you let us? The future wants us. You can't keep us away.
The future is ready for us.
Are we ready for it? The future is dancing. Can't you hear the music?
The future is ours. You have to give it to us.
The future is ours.
The future is ours.
You have to give it to us. The future is scary. Don't get too close.
The future is coming, whether you like it or not. I can't create my future with the tools of your past.
I know how to memorize. Teach me to think.
I know how to recite.
Teach me how to create.
I know what you said.
Teach me how to speak for myself. School should be more like a game. When you get it wrong, just try again.
Today I learned that
You are the expert.
you have all the answers.
Today, I learned that. You don't believe in me. You don't trust me.
You don't know me.
Today, I learned that
You want me to be like you.
You want me to do it your way.
you don't know me.
You don't trust me.
You don't believe in me.
Let the future in.
We want to talk to the world.
Ask questions.
Share.
Work together.
Play together.
Explore.
Discover.
Create.
Learn our way.
Make mistakes and try again.
The future called. I told him you were busy.
Can you help us?
Can you guide us?
Can you trust us?
Can you unlock it?
Can you unblock it?
Can you just believe? We know you're trying.
We know you care.
We know you have to follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
We know you're afraid.
This is our future. Let us have a say in it. We are not afraid. We are not afraid.
We're not afraid.
We're excited. We are not cheating. We are collaborating. We are not irresponsible. We are courageous.
We're not reckless. We're pioneers.
We are not lazy. We are bored. Bored.
Bored.
Bored.
Bored.
Bored.
Bored. We're not angry. We are frustrated.
We are not stupid.
We're all different.
We are different.
We're different.
We are different. We're different.
We're just different.
You want a chance to embrace your future. Give us a chance to embrace ours.
We want you to help us.
We want you to understand us.
We need your help.
We need your wisdom.
We need your experience.
We need your guidance.
But we don't need your permission.
Help me get there. Take a chance.
Step out of the comfort zone.
Out of the box.
Out of the textbook. Out of the testing.
The testing.
The testing.
The testing.
Let me show you what I can really do.
Let me build it. Let me photograph it.
Let me sing it.
Let me record it.
Let me dance it. Let me act it out. Let me show you what I can really do.
Let me analyze it.
Let me sing it.
Let me program it.
Let me dance it.
Let me explain it.
Let me paint it. Let me show you what I can really do.
Let me play it.
Let me play it.
Let me play it. Prepare me for my future.
Tear down the walls. Take a chance. Help me get there.
Help me get there.
Help me get there.
The future asked me to come.
The future asked me to come.
The future asked me to come.
It said you could come too. I said you can come too.
I said you can come too.
You should come too. The future is happening.
Right this very minute.
Outside of school, we're there already.
We want you to be brave and come with us.
Come with us.
Come with us.
The future called.
Will we be ready?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I've been in
going.
class for a while and you
going.
need to
We're going.
move a little bit. So we're happy to answer
We're
questions, but feel free to move around or stand up or do whatever it is you need to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.